Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brad Boyd. I'm a Republican running for the position of Williamson County Coroner. And my first Facebook Live presentation, I think that it's important that I talk a little bit about the position for people to understand how I am actually uniquely qualified for this position. Because I tell people that I'm running for coroner, and the first thing that they respond is, well, you're a mortician. And I'm like, no, I'm not a mortician. But the mortician really does not prepare a person for two of the three main duties that a county coroner performs for the people of Southern Illinois. Those duties, those three main duties, include: one, they investigate the circumstances surrounding death, and two, they determine a medical cause of death. Mortician is not particularly qualified to prepare a person to do those two duties. And then the third responsibility is largely administrative. They issue death certificates. They work with funeral homes, and they arrange for autopsies if it's called for. With those three main duties, then we look at the job. And if you look out throughout the country, our Southern Illinois model of mortician doing the job is really not as widespread as one would believe. Actually, there's a lot of mostly law enforcement and medical people that fulfill the role of coroner for most counties. And my background qualifies me for that. One, I was a law enforcement officer, a police officer for 22 years. Retired in 2008 from that, and became a registered nurse, and I've been a registered nurse since 2009. I will talk a little bit more about my duties in each of those positions that enable me to come forward confidently saying that I can do the coroner's position. I'm not going to get into it significantly, particularly in this presentation. I will tell a little bit about myself, though. I'm 56 years old. My father retired in 1972 as a master sergeant from the military, moved home to Crab Orchard, Illinois, where he grew up. He grew up Crab Orchard, Krill Springs area, and bought a house in between the two towns, between Crab Orchard and Krill Springs. Attended Crab Orchard schools. Been in Southern Illinois from 1972 to 1981 when I graduated high school. I also attended Krill Springs in grade school in 1969 for the year that my father was deployed to the Far East. But otherwise, 72 to 91 or to 81 Crab Orchard schools. Upon graduating, I went to the Marine Corps in 1981. Stationed in California, Philippines, Korea, Japan. Honorably discharged, returned home to Southern Illinois, where I attended SIU. Wanted to be a police officer at that point. Received an associate's degree in law enforcement from SIU. Wanted to be a police officer. I couldn't get anything around here. I was working out at Marion Prison as a contract employee. And a friend of mine from the Marine Corps, a guy named Willie Mendez, he said, hey, come on down to San Antonio. He said, you can become a police officer. He was working there as a police officer. And so I went to San Antonio and became a police officer. Worked in that wonderful city for 5 years. My oldest daughter at that point was about to start kindergarten. My wife is also from Crab Orchard, Krill Springs area, decided that we wanted to come home to Williamson County. All our parents were still living here in Williamson County, and we desired to raise our children here in a more rural area and wanted them to know their grandparents. And so I was hired by Carbondale Police Department and moved back here in 1991. Was a police officer until 2008 in Carbondale until I retired, and been a registered nurse since 2009. Upon retiring from the police department, too young to quit working, and I can be a police officer. My wife was I can be a registered nurse. My wife was a registered nurse, actually a nurse practitioner. I decided I was going to be one, so I became one, and I've been doing that since 2009. And so I think my background uniquely qualifies me for this position. And that's basically all I'm going to share with you today. I'll talk a little bit more about my qualifications in future presentations. Thank you for tuning in today. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You can get in touch with me through my website, bradboydforcoroner.com. And then between now and November, we are all going to be inundated with presidential politics, so we will be infinitely aware that our election is going to be on November 3rd, and we'll be glad to get past that at that point, I'm sure, and remind you to vote for me. Thank you.